Hey guys, welcome to the Techpoint Africa Podcast. That's what I meant to say. But yeah, today is a special edition of the Techpoint Africa Podcast. And as you can see, it's a different setting today. But before I begin to fill you in on the details of the new setting that you're looking at right now, there's something I want to point out. In the last few weeks, the entire Nigerian tech space has been agog with the launch of something big, the 5G network. And it's a momentous occasion because it's not just a minor improvement on what you have before, your 3G, your 4G. It's a generational leap in, I don't know how to put it, but yeah, that's what it is. But today I'm with someone who can help us present it very, very, very palatably for you, very, 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 very nicely and well packaged. And yeah, let's start this. Hey guys, yeah, welcome to the Techpoint Africa Podcast once again. Yeah, I keep saying welcome, but okay, you get bored of that real fast. But yeah, I have with me today a very, very special guest. Her name is Adia Sowho. She's the Chief Marketing Officer of MTN. Thank you very much for having this conversation with us, Adia.
You are most welcome.
Yeah, and I guess you could see some excitement in my...
Oh, really? I couldn't tell.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Okay, now, so I see you're using a vertical mouse. How is the movement the same for you?
Yeah. So I don't know about you, but during the pandemic, my laptop usage increased where I didn't even think it could possibly increase further. And then my hand started to hurt. So yeah, it definitely saves the squeezing and
I don't get
unsqueezing. Yeah. No, because it just lays down flat, and I don't have to move my fingers as much. And
but it's quite different from the other kind of.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm just quite curious. Normal mice you see, they are just flat.
Yeah.
On the table. So what's
the
the deal behind it standing like this?
So this one's supposed to be more ergonomic, right? So it's supposed to be more comfortable on my hand, so I don't have to expand and retract or make a fist and unfist. So so far so good, yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That is cool. So that's an interesting one, but let's not derail the conversation because I'm a tech geek, so we could start talking about almost everything.
Everything here, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So 5G technology.
Yeah.
And it's something people are excited about, right?
Good.
Okay, I can't speak for everybody, but
why now? I was happy with that.
You were happy with that?
I was, yes.
No, I can't assume everyone is excited about it because not many people will understand it. So what does this mean, 5G technology? I did a little bit of rambling in the intro, just so you know. But I need some expert opinion on what is going on. What is 5G technology and why should we be excited about it?
All right. So by definition, it is the 5th generation of mobile technology. Incidentally, I started as a radio frequency engineer, and the first network I managed was a 1G network. At the time, it was known as an analog network, right? So with each generation of the technology, there has been an improvement. As you went from 1G to 2G, it drastically increased capacity. 3G meant you could transmit data and text messages, at least of some tangible size. 4G meant you could drastically increase the size of the text messages sent. Right, so video became compatible over a mobile connection. Now 5G supersizes the data packets that you can send, and also does so with much greater speed, whilst allowing for 100 times more people or 100 times more devices transmitting on the network. So as you mentioned, this is a generational change, by definition, but it's also an exponential one and will drastically change the way we use the internet.
Interesting. So in layman's terms, so when I have access to the 5G technology, what kind of speed should I be expecting? What can I now do with it? So
let me talk about it instead in terms of experiences rather than speed, right? So let's not focus on speed because WhatsApp, the speed of WhatsApp is not going to change. Do you understand? Because WhatsApp is not an application that requires high speed. However, downloads and uploads, those speeds will change quite drastically.
Okay.
Your quality of streaming will change quite drastically. So buffering is going to go away with 5G technology. So there are some experiences that are going to change. It also opens up a whole new world of potential possibilities of things you can do over an internet connection in real time. All right. So all of a sudden, I expect a whole new set of applications and services to become possible just because of the high speed at which data can be transmitted over a mobile connection now.
Oh, okay. So for now, zeroing on Nigeria, right? The Nigerian context. You guys spent a buttload of money for just to acquire the license.
It was not changed, yes.
Yes. So it means it would seem that MTN is betting real big on the 5G technology. Why are you making that bet in markets like Nigeria? And I'm saying that with the context of the economic environment, poverty rates, so much to be done to increase internet penetration to the last mile, a lot of policy issues. So why make that bet on 5G technology that's so huge?
The simple answer is Nigerians. They're the only reason and they're the best reason to make such a big bet and such a big investment. And I think the future of global economies now is going to have a hefty digital footprint. And 5G connectivity is one of the things that's actually going to address, poverty levels, change the wealth that can be built from work that can be performed within the digital economy remotely and so on and so forth. So, think about how just WhatsApp and messaging has, supported and broadened the ability to earn money depending on who you are. As soon as you have a phone, you can ply your trade and display your work, and social media has probably also added to that, right? So 5G adds a whole other dimension to that. So I think Nigerians are worth making that kind of bet.
Okay, so with the current generations, with 4G, 3G, we've seen the rise of social commerce, mobile commerce, and all of that. So
there you go.
What next with 5G? Like, wow, where are we taking it to?
You tell me. The sky's the limit, right? So there are so many possible use cases. I think I wonder whether Nigeria's brick and mortar education system can accommodate the number of young Nigerians, right? So the answer is probably no, or not with ease, all right? Even when I was in secondary school, classes were overcrowded, right? So
up to university for me.
There you go. So I'm not trying to age myself here, but like as far back as when I was in secondary school, classes were overcrowded. So what I'm trying to say here is that our population needs to be served, and we need to start asking ourselves serious questions about how that's going to happen, whether it's going to be done with physical infrastructure or with digital infrastructure. Okay, so that applies to education, government services, banking services, right? Just social services, just even supporting this population to do anything, right, is going to require digital infrastructure in some way, shape, or form. 5G allows real-time interactions to occur over a digital connection, right? So you don't necessarily have to see somebody. We all know how WhatsApp video call has particularly adjusted the need for certain face-to-face meetings.
Yeah.
So some of us have been able to opt out of traffic. Now, what 5G does is it takes that a step further. But for me, I think any industry that 5G touches, it has the opportunity to potentially revolutionize. Like there's a use case my team and I talk about how 5G can even change the life of a fisherman, because all of a sudden you can actually go fish where there are actually fish, right? Rather than just trying your luck. You know what I mean? How you can, potentially have medical treatment, not just delivered through a TV screen or through a video call, but actually using technology where the surgeon is remotely assessing the patient. There is physical contact, right, between the patient and the surgeon, but over a digital connection, right? Those of you in the media industry, it will make transmitting and receiving large files much quicker, right? So something that would have taken 4 hours, or however long it takes to render video these days, will happen in a much quicker fashion. And for instance, it may take less time to produce a Nollywood movie. Like if we weren't producing movies fast enough, we are about to speed that up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Speed that up, you increase the speed of that economy and so on and so forth. So it's for me, 5G also allows us to welcome people to the internet that perhaps may have been locked out, because if you think about it, to access the internet, you need to be fairly well educated. You need to be able to read and write in whatever language is available on the internet. And we all know that our languages are not necessarily available on the internet. 5G can be linked to translation services and allow us to create language databases in real time, right? This is me just like, we're making stuff up as we go along. But look, if we just sat down and talked here for 30 minutes about the speed of that connection, there are so many services that you can, just make up on the spot. And for me, I'm looking for opportunities to do that with young people so that we can go out and start building, these unicorns of companies.
Yeah. Okay. I just decided to so-call that thing. And so now back to MTN strategy for the 5G launch.
Yeah.
Right? I noticed you guys were very, very deliberate about launching, about the locations you chose. So the 6 geopolitical zones.
Mm-hmm.
Then you took populations and the smartphone ownership into account when launching these devices. So, but there's something I've been saying. I mentioned it in our last podcast, and I also mentioned it in my article. Even if it's available in my city, does it mean it will get to where I am? So, because I noticed when I tried to pre-order the device on the MTN website, there were very specific locations, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Ikeja, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
has Okbebi,
Mm-hmm.
has Alausa,
Mm-hmm.
has GRA, for instance. Then, of course, the island, the locations were pretty much specific.
Mm-hmm.
So there's Okbebi, for instance. So does it mean if I'm in Allen, I can't receive that signal?
Excuse me. Not necessarily. It doesn't mean that. Look, if at the end of the day, if you see 5G on your phone, you'll know you are on the 5G network. Of course, there are some prerequisites that you have the right SIM card and you have a 5G capable.
Oh, so I have to change my SIM card.
It depends. If are you doing 4G on your phone now?
Yes.
Then you're fine. So your SIM card is fine. Then the other thing to check is if your device is 5G compatible. If you have both those things, anywhere you see 5G, you can use it. Right? And we're going to work on sort of implementing something in the My MTN app so that we'll let you know when you are in a 5G zone so that you can test it out. All right. So these rollouts take time. Right, even 4G, we're just approaching 100% coverage of Nigeria. Right, so it's going to take us another year or two to get there. But these things take a few years to happen, just because of the logistics of doing it and then the expense as well. So we will eventually get there. So just because you don't have it now does not mean you are never going to have it. It just means it's a matter of time until you get it. And like you said, there are many considerations. One of the things we're going to do, in addition to the pre-order, is just get a sense of who wants 5G in their area, and then use that to prioritize the deployment of the rollout.
Okay, so but the preciseness of these locations is a function of the nature of the 5G technology, right? So I learned that these signals do not travel for really long distances compared to lower frequencies. So is that or?
I think that's an oversimplification of a very complex concept, right? Okay. So, short answer is no. So I wouldn't say that the signal isn't going to get to you or that the cell sites are less available. But let's also remember that these sites are now doing, voice, text, video, high-speed video, and then even more, right? So I think as we increase capacity, we're definitely going to need a much denser network across Nigeria.
Okay, so let me stop prying into your rollout strategy. But building 5G technology, I'm pretty sure it's going to be quite expensive to build, right? From the license to the devices themselves that you're installing. And let's go out a bit. The critical national infrastructure issue we have on the national level. So really, really high grade next generation technology that anybody could just use a bat to just hit it down.
Actually, no, you can't do that.
I'm exaggerating, but yeah.
There's a significant amount of security around the infrastructure, and I think we have the NCCR regulator support in protecting national infrastructure. We could always, use more, but I think as Nigerians, this is the presence of the network is yours. You know what I mean? It's it's for our collective.
Yeah.
Good. So the asset needs to be protected. But I mean, again, the issues are not any worse than they were 21 years ago. So it's something that we have. MTN has sort of cut its teeth and knows how to manage. Of course, collectively with the industry, we do call for help and continued protection of the assets. But you can't just go and stone a mast and knock it down. No, you can't.
No. I was thinking more of like, so there have been instances of this happening, right? Vandals attacking telecom sites.
Well, let's keep gisting about 5G now. Don't worry about vandals; they are fine.
Okay, if you say so.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want you to spend so much money and stuff like that.
I agreed. So I mean, like I was saying just now, we appreciate the collective support of Nigerians in continuing to use the service and protect it wherever you see it. That's it. Yeah.
Okay. So please. Yeah. So that's an interesting one. And so with 5G technology, we're trying to hit 70% broadband coverage. Do you see this particular rollout contributing to this vision we have, considering all things considered?
Yeah, absolutely. Eventually, and MTN is very proud and happy to support the government's goal in achieving that broadband connectivity goal. I mean, at the end of the day, connectivity should be, regarded as a like food, right? So yeah, absolutely. MTN is fully behind the government's agenda to do that.
Okay, so I have a question from one of our readers or our fans. They're saying, can I exchange my 4G router for a 5G router?
Yeah, we're going to have a router exchange plan coming up soon. I don't have a date yet, but it's going to happen later this year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. At a reduced price or...
Details will come out. Just follow us on social and we'll make sure that we talk about it at the appropriate time. But yeah, we will be doing a router exchange program that should hopefully make it easier for people to adopt 5G as a service.
Okay, so another conspiracy, no, I wouldn't say conspiracy, but yeah, another important question. Are we going to pay more for data now that it's 5G network?
Okay, I'm glad you asked that question, right? It's a really important one. So with every generation of technology, you never use less data. Do you understand? As an individual, you consume more data. And it's important that I spend time explaining this because one of the things we often have to manage is that people, first of all, started using voice. The only way to quantify how much time you spend on the phone is by the number of minutes. Now, where we've struggled sometimes is with customers thinking that your data is also supposed to last a number of minutes. It doesn't actually work that way. It is consumed based on what you use it for. So if you sit down and you keep downloading movies or you're streaming movies all day, you may consume data, in one day, right? So it's important also to understand that 5G will likely increase your individual usage of data because you will find more and more instances and more events to use data, right? So I need to just plead with you to use data responsibly. Now, we understand that. Our goal is to make sure that we are not charging more per megabyte when you are on 5G versus when you are on 4G. And eventually, as your usage increases, you know what I mean? Like, if you're buying 1 terabyte of data now, I'm not going to charge, we're not going to charge the same as if you are buying 100 megabytes of data. You know what I mean? So there is a benefit to buying larger data plans, right? But like I said, the cost per megabyte is not going to go up because you are using more data. But I need you to just be conscious of the fact that you need to use your data responsibly and, just when you're watching one video after another on YouTube, you understand? So just again, I'm not when we launch the network fully and come out of the pilot, we're going to give users an opportunity to sort of learn and get comfortable and understand the rate at which a 5G network moves, so that you can increase your usage at your own pace, and you don't feel like MTN is trying. Yeah, you understand. Big straw. I've heard that big straw analogy a lot, right? So no, that's not what we want. But I still want you to try it, and we're going to try and create as many opportunities as we can for people to just, because once you try it, it's a life-changing experience.
Okay. So when is it coming to our phones?
Soon. Like, just follow us on social. We will keep announcing. Remember, this is a pilot, and we're testing certain things, optimizing the network. And we appreciate those of us, the users that are already on the network and helping us just sort of understand it. And we're making it, we're improving the quality so that you get the best user experience. Having said that, there's going to be a lot more coming. Just keep watching this space. Every few weeks, we're going to be making a big announcement.
Okay. So I have a conspiracy theorist here.
Okay.
Since the 5G rollouts, 4G network has been misbehaving.
Really? Correlation is not causality. So, I think as the 4G network gets more users on it, this is how, as we say in the industry, cell sites tend to breathe. You know what I mean? And as more people go onto a network, sometimes you may see changes in quality, but no, the 5G network rollout does not directly and negatively impact the 4G network.
Okay, good. Thank you very much for clarifying that.
I thought you were going to talk about 5G causing COVID, but that's okay.
Oh, yes. How about that?
I'm not aware. And I've been around cell sites for a long time, and I've never seen them cause any disease that I've caught in the last 20-something years. So
you're fine. You're speak and span, everything.
I mean, we're not wearing masks. I don't think you guys are infected, but I'll see you in 14 days. If
it was a whole thing in 2020, and I wrote an article about 5G questions asked, and I got a lot of insults for that article.
Really?
What do you know? What see you? It was messed up, right? And I think people might need some education, considering everything that happened, considering what instigated it in 2020. There are questions asked about, does it cause health hazards? It might not be COVID, but does it cause health hazards?
So 5G is just like 4G, 3G, 2G, and 1G, right? There is a global standard for deploying telecom services, which all operators and participants in the value chain must meet. We are not doing anything differently in Nigeria. We are deploying the same world-class network that the rest of the world, consumes in their respective countries, right? So I am not aware that there's anything particularly dangerous about 5G specifically. So if you have a phone already, continue to observe normal safety precautions. Have it on your person when you need it to, pretty much that's it. If you have a headset, use it. You don't have to sleep with it under your pillow. Be comfortable leaving it separate from yourself at times, but it's fine. It's nothing. Like I said, I'm not aware. So, and I'm in the industry and have been for a very, very long time.
Yeah. Over 20 years. Mm-hmm. Wow. That's really long.
I know.
Yeah, so beyond the regular safety precautions that we should already be taking with our smartphones, 5G doesn't add any extra layer.
With any phone, no, 5G doesn't add any extra layer of...
And even the devices too.
No, not to my knowledge. It's the same safety standards. I mean, think about it now. What if it caused a health issue? Then there are entire companies, multi-billion-dollar companies around the world that would collapse. It's not in anybody's intention to create an unsafe product.
Cool. That makes sense. So let's come back to MTN. During your financials, you mentioned that maybe the 4G rollout, so I think the CEO, Carl Toriola, said we could have decided to target 100% by the end of 2022, but let's just add an extra 5%, 80% 4G coverage. And for 5G, they want to use it to push a own the home strategy. So what's the idea behind that own the home strategy?
Essentially, people have used mobile service and carry that service along with them on their person. But as technology matures, the way we use connectivity in our homes will also change. We're going to have devices at home that need to stay connected. One of the obvious ones is your television, right? Which may or may not need its own router. Right. Eventually, we can start to control things like light bulbs, fridges, electronic devices, right? As we start doing energy management from an app on your phone, right? And we delve into the Internet of Things. So when you leave your house with your mobile phone and your mobile connectivity, you're going to need for your devices at home to stay connected to the internet. So when we say we want to own the home, we're basically talking about giving you that same high quality network, but at home, while you are sort of running around in the world, building wealth. Your devices stay connected at home. And this is good for like security, safety, just creating some ease in your life, right? And convenience. You know what I mean? Like imagine, you left the house and you left a light bulb on. You know what I mean? You can easily now connect that to your phone, but you'd have to do that over
a really fast network.
Over a good network, yes. So that's what we're talking about. That's what the CEO is talking about when he's talking about owning the home. And we have a whole team focused on that kind of home-based broadband connectivity. And that product is actually at the front of our 5G pilot. So we're going to be leading with that while we are adding mobile phones over time.
Okay, so there are a number of existing players in the home broadband space in Nigeria. And how are you thinking about it in terms of competition? And I know 5G is a unique selling point, but I know of a company that launched Wi-Fi 6 relatively fast too. So how are you looking about... How are you thinking about playing this home broadband game?
I'm not. Good luck to them. The best enters the game. There's nothing to say again now. I mean, like, really. After 5G, what else? What is Wi-Fi 6? Continue.
Okay. All right. Everybody should think their... Okay. So that's an interesting one. So the pricing, the average Nigerian home, do you think they'll be able to afford these devices?
What's the average Nigerian home, Seth? You tell me.
It's very, very broad.
Do they have a Netflix subscription?
If they do?
If they do, then they could afford a router. Yeah.
But the Netflix subscription, Netflix in Nigeria is kind of weird, and I hope Netflix staff are not watching this, but we tend to share passwords a lot.
Whether you share passwords or not, you're still...
It reduces the price.
Sure. It reduces the price of the Netflix or Amazon subscription, right? Yes, but eventually those will change or catch up, right? But the bottom line, it's like an index. Let's put it like that. So if you can afford, some services like that, then you probably can afford a broadband router and the connectivity that allows those services to work at the level you need them to work at.
Okay. By any chance, are we going to see unlimited internet?
Sorry, say that? Unlimited internet.
By any chance?
Inshallah, one day. Look, I think let me argue this from an economic perspective, right?
Okay.
As Carl mentioned, we've not even reached 100% investment in rolling out the 4G network. It's going to take a few years to do that with 5G. It doesn't make economic sense to keep increasing your costs while you are capping your revenue with unlimited plans. You know what I mean? So what we're trying to do, though, is find balance so that we can continue to raise the right amount of funds to pour back into the network. But let's just say, look, being in charge of the consumer business at MTN, it's a request I hear fairly frequently. What we're trying to do is find ways to make our data plans easier on the pocket. But it's a work in progress. Just bear with us and enjoy fantastic service in the meantime.
Okay, so I was thinking, so you talk about capping revenues, right? So you could actually go about it in terms of speed. So maybe those who are looking for a certain level of speed, instead of 100 gig, 400 gig, you're doing 10 Mbps, 20 Mbps. Anyway, let me know.
Yeah. So all of these things are possible, right? But I guess let me switch to being a product person. You have to sort of gauge what your users are interested in, what they can understand, what you can explain, what you can deploy easily. So we're going to be testing all of these out. And then, after we successfully pilot, if we get a good user response, then we'll roll out.
Okay, so I'm curious about how this ties with MTN's overall strategy, not just the technology deployment with 5G technology. So, for instance, how does the 5G technology that is now massively in the news tie in with one of your biggest plays recently, which is the payment service banks? So, for me personally, I'm just sharing it. I feel like, okay, it's supposed to have come several years ago.
The
PSB.
Okay.
So I'm just thinking about the head start a company like Safaricom had with M-Pesa and how it became like the global poster child for mobile money. But MTN is just coming, and I don't know. How does everything tie in? And you could just help us get a picture of this.
I mean, look, it's the future really is still being written. You know what I mean? It was literally a case of let's launch first. Now we're here. Let's see what the initial reaction is, and then we'll start, creating products together. So the great thing about technology is that you can iterate in any number of different ways. And I think for me, when I think about the PSB, and 5G, I mean, Momo is a separate subsidiary. So, but obviously the two companies have a relationship. We can think about financial inclusion in a very different way. Let's think about who is excluded or underserved and what does it take to include them. Like, for instance, now we talked about the languages of the internet and how many Nigerians can truly participate. You now start to ask yourself, okay, if the financial services bank is going to be providing things like credits, insurance, and so on and so forth, how do you do that for somebody that only speaks Urhobo? Right. So this is where, and the person may or may not have gone to school. This is where, I'm hoping some young person will build a translation app, a real-time language translation. Yeah, good. So an NLP driven app with MTN's help, possibly, right? And then that app can be used for inventory management or accounting, or at least you can log a transaction. Okay. So my relatives in the village who have, who sell rice, right, can say, I sold one bag of rice, 100 kilos today. That can now be a log entry into an accounting app. That accounting app can now have APIs so that their financiers can say, okay, this person is actually creditworthy. So at this point, we have not needed to send, my Urhobo speaking auntie to any more school than she does before. But our services have evolved to meet her at the point where she is. So all of a sudden, by the time you now step back and think about who is underserved or not included, that conversation now starts to change. So again, this is us just making this up as we're talking now. There are so many, look, literally give me a pain point and I can probably talk you through how 5G can, address it.
Interesting. So for the woman in question, an example, it has to be a voice application, right? Because most people can't read their local languages.
So yeah, a voice application. So again, this is now the gateway that gets her into the digital economy without having to go and learn how to code or know how to use Twitter or anything like that. You know what I mean? So like I said, the services now come down to the level of the needs that exist in our context and in our country, and that people outside of Nigeria won't be able to understand. So to come back to your main question, 5G is really going to be what we make of it, right? So it's going to be up to us to leverage the technology to its fullest. And my job, and the thing that excites me about this job and working here right now is creating those opportunities, for small businesses, individuals who want to create companies, to create the products that, for us and by that are for us and by us.
All right. That's a lot of things, a lot of information to.
Yeah, sorry, I tend to talk a lot.
No. It's actually fine. And I'm thinking maybe there are any final words you'd like to share. I've heard you mention uh, talking about young people
Mhm.
building stuff and possibly MTN supporting that. Do you have any final thing to share with them?
I mean, look, just watch this space. Keep following us on social. We'll start to communicate more and more about what we're thinking, what we're planning, and when we need feedback on directions to go in. But look, this is a very, very exciting time. We've we've repositioned now. We're a tech co, so we're not just about connectivity services anymore. We want to be about so much more. So I feel like this marks the beginning of a lot of great things that you're going to see from MTN Nigeria.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having this talk with us.
Thank you so much.
And guys, thank you for staying with us to the end of this podcast. Of course, if you're listening to us for the first time, you know the drill. Very, very simple drill. Share us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, anywhere you can find this podcast. And if you're watching us on YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok, please let's hear your comments and share with your friends, your family, and even your enemies, because everybody deserves 5G. All right, and see you guys another time. Bye-bye.
Bye.